Hello everybody and welcome to another Warhammer 3 multiplayer battle. This time it's going to be a Domination game on the Grove of Slaughter. I'm playing as Nurgle, being led by Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle, and my opponent, the world famous Dark Age Rush, is playing as the Lizardmen, being led by Oxalotl. So my army is basically using the only good, fast units that Nurgle has on their entire roster, the Marauder Horsemen of Nurgle, which I think are sadly a little overtuned, unfortunately. But, you know, Nurgle doesn't have a lot going for them, so I picked them. Also got Chaos Warriors, Marauders, Warriors with great weapons, and then some Exalted Plague Bearers, because why not? They're fun. They have a huge amount of HP. And my Lord has Stream of Corruption and Fleshy Abundance. Oh yeah, one more unit of Chaos Warriors here. So basically just like a front line of infantry and then a huge skirmisher core. My opponent, who is starting over here in the trees, Oxalotl way out in front, this guy is very slippery and very hard to identify. He has, where is it? Yeah, Master Predator here, so he can become unspottable. And that's pretty bad. He can just sort of sit around and like poke your one-off units with his little blow dart. He's also got Lord Croak, who is bugged currently because he can, like, his spells have no cooldown. It says they have a cooldown, but they don't. They just, actually, I guess it doesn't say they have a cooldown. Anyway, as soon as one is finished casting, he can immediately trigger another one. So Croak got a huge buff in that way. Skink cohorts with javelins, Saurus, and then chameleon skinks. Very powerful unit, especially against a opponent who can't really counter. And then in the other tree line, Saurus, Skinks, Chameleons, and also an Ancient Salamander, kind of a cool, fun little guy, spits fire. Come on, I wanna click on the box here. Yeah, there we go. So whoever he hits, he puts them on fire, and his weapons do fire damage, so then he'll do 20% more to whoever he targets. So we'll speed up just a little bit as we get a little closer. So from my perspective, I'm being shot by Oxalotl over here, and I have no idea where he is. I figured his troops were over here in this sort of open field, so I'm running my Marauders over, thinking like, yeah, where are these chameleon skinks? I'm going to find him, but little do I know he's actually nowhere nearby. Maybe if I was paying attention, I could see the projectiles coming from the trees, but I don't. So just moving my Sorcerer Lord over here, very imperiously sitting on his gigantic horse. And my opponent is summoning in some new units, Feral Cold Ones, and Skink cohorts with javelins, which I thought, great, awesome. Finally got some targets I can throw my throwing axes at, and we immediately start getting some kills. Although his big Doom stack is kind of positioning up for Objective 1, I believe he can see my units perfectly fine, so nothing too interesting there. Nurgle is very slow. Like, their infantry, yeah, you see these Chaos Warriors, they move at 23 speed. I think it's like the slowest unit in the entire game. And we're just trying to get some picks here, you know, we're just harassing these units, running around, throwing our axes, trying to not get engaged by these dinosaurs, or by these lizards. Get a little caught up here. I was considering like melee charging the chameleon skinks, but not super great. So I spread out all my units, and we're trying to split these Feral Cold Ones up, who are rampaging, so he can't control them. In the meantime, the lizards and the Nurgleites are just about to see each other over this ridge, and they're met with a hail of javelin fire. And we get a nice stream of corruption running down, ripping up those skink cohorts, and, you know, even a little damage on those skinks. Over here, my Marauders, one of them, yeah, well, looks like one guy might rout off the battlefield, but we've done some good damage over here. I pulled two of my infantry units, so we've taken the middle objective, and my opponent has comfortably taken the third objective. But the real meat of the fighting is happening over here. These Marauders of Nurgle smashing into these skinks. I think the Marauders should win, if for no other reason than we're going to poison them. Yeah, and we're actually winning that pretty decisively. My Marauders over here, my Horsemen, I should say, are all running for the hills. I pulled 2 units back though, and we get a nice sandwich on these chameleons and on these skink cohorts, but my opponent wisely, using one of Croak's bombs here, And I don't think I get out of there in time. No, I do not. And thankfully, it looks like it was a low power one, so I don't lose that much. And we rout the chameleons, we rout the skinks. We're routing those skink cohorts over there. My lord's just, again, like, ho ho ho, yes, yes, fight and die for Nurgle. Yeah, another stream of corruption down there, killing more Saurus. But the feral cold ones are back and charging into my front lines, and I countercharge them with Marauder Horsemen, which is not going to be a winning fight for me. But, you know, we're just trying to hold them back, so that way my Nurgle infantry can catch up to them, because they're very slow. They're really quite slow. I don't think they run ever, they're just always walking wherever they go. The middle's completely uncontested, and I have one Nurgling squad irritatingly sitting on point 3, just basically chewing up ammunition, just dying. They have no other purpose other than to die. This skink cohort unit did come back. I screwed up my cast with that. I wanted to, like, do it into this big blob, but it's okay. It can't be helped. Over here, we're doing great. I summoned a chariot unit of Nurgle, and they absolutely ran through these Saurus warriors over here. And, you know, he's trying to come in with more skinks. He's dropping a croak bomb, but Exalted Plague Bearers have a lot of HP. I don't think they're about to have that much more, though. Holy shit. Lost like 3,000 hit points to that bomb. Pretty devastating. And they're getting rear charged by the feral cold ones, so probably not long for these Plague Bearers to live, but they do have 50 melee defense, which is nice. I've got my Marauder Horsemen just chasing off some irritating units. Furies over here trying to just bog down this big lizard core that's pushing in. I think at this point the value trading was pretty good, pretty in my favor. I fucked up another stream of corruption over here. I'm not really sure how I screwed that up again. But we're recharging the skinks, and again, another croak bomb. This guy just keeps laying down croak bombs. And do I get out of the way? It looks like I'm not even paying attention that this is happening. Thankfully, it was a small explosion, so I only lost like 1,000 HP, but Croak has really just been hitting some bangers on that one. And I've got my Chaos Furies of Nurgle, one of, again, the very few fast units on the roster, just sort of existing in the sky, getting picked apart by chameleon skinks. My Nurglings over here are still alive, even though they're still being shot by these chameleon skinks. They're still living. Great trade for me as far as I'm concerned, just eating up that ammunition that isn't doing too much. Another stream of corruption, pretty good. Yeah, I like that one. You know, got a couple of hits. Was this another Nurgle bomb? It's like it didn't do all that much. Croak bomb, I should say. Yeah, but we're in here with these chariot squads. Yeah, Croak he just keeps spam casting this shit, and it's quite hard to avoid having the slowest units in the game. But that was bad. That was, yeah, we managed to dodge that one, which was good. Chaos Warriors over here in the woods fighting these feral cold ones with their great weapons. Good fight for us. We still hold the middle. The objective is going good for us. We have nothing on 3. He pulled his Ancient Salamander from objective 3 all the way back over here because the fighting is so fierce. I'm just continuously summoning in more and more units. Now I've even got Nurglings rummaging through the tree line here to fight in the woods against these lizards. And Nurgle refuses to die. Yeah, so that's definitely one thing that got a big advantage on these chariots, smashing through these skinks, ripping through his lines. It's a complete rout basically for the Lizardmen in this position. But the Salamander's here, and he's doing some good damage, killing those Marauder Horsemasters, actually shattering them off the battlefield, unfortunately. And my opponent has finally pulled some troops to contest the middle objective. Thankfully, I have here Chosen of Nurgle, who are unbelievably slow, 20 speed, cartoonishly slow, not facing the correct way with their shields, but they have a shit ton of HP and a fuck ton of armor. So even when harried by these chameleons, not really super concerned. I've got another Nurgling unit to irritatingly sit on this objective. And my opponent's actually pulling some troops. He's pulling Oxalotl, who I don't think I've ever seen this whole game. He's been invisible constantly. Another Croak bomb over there, which I did manage to avoid. But we've kind of smashed the Lizard infantry over here. We're holding objective 1. We're definitely winning on the value trade. You may not believe me, but it is true. Source, just trust me. And I'm running through these chameleons with my Horsemasters. Unfortunately, they do get routed and shattered again. But I've got some fast units. I've got Nurglings, I've got Furies, I've got Dogs. We're chasing away the Lizard Remnants, but the big Lizard Horde is right here in the middle. But luckily for me, I've got Chosen, and these guys, they don't quit. They're going to sit, and they're going to hold, and they're going to fight, and not take really any damage with 65 melee defense. The Mark of Nurgle really coming into play there, in a huge HP pool. Yeah, the Lizard skirmishing tools are just not really able to do any damage to these guys. Even when jumped on by Feral Cold Ones and Red-Crested Skinks, who do armor-piercing damage, they're fine. You know, they're doing great. They're actually winning. Feral Cold Ones definitely being hampered by these trees. I pull my Chaos Warriors a little bit forward, and then get the slowest rear charge ever seen in the old world, and the slowest flanking charge ever seen in the old world on these Feral Cold Ones and these Red-Crested Skinks. Over here I've got Nurglings who've jumped into these Cold One Spear Riders and the Skinks, along with some Furies and some Dogs that were chasing away some units. And we're over here in the woods still fighting Croak with the remnants of these great weapons. Croak just slowly dying, being completely surrounded, but you know, he's getting a lot of kills on the way out. Yeah, and we completely collapse this formation. My Furies aren't having a fun time. Yeah, there's a lot of lizards here. Pretty difficult for them. My Nurglings over here are now engaged with the Chameleon Skinks in melee because they used all of their ammunition killing the other Nurglings, so now they're just fighting with tooth and claw, while these Nurglings irritatingly smash and bump into these Skinks. I guess maybe we'll win. It's not really so much a matter of winning, it's just a matter of bogging the enemy down in too much garbage that he can't possibly kill all of it. Now, unfortunately, speaking of too much garbage, my opponent has more troops on Objective 2 than I do, so he claims it, and he's actually starting to catch up in points. We had a point lead for a while there, but only holding Objective 1, we finally managed to put that damn Croak back in the grave, but at tremendous cost. But we don't have Objective 2. I'm bringing more Marauders, more Chaos Warriors with great weapons onto the point, but we can't get the capture weight, even with all these extra infantry pouring in. Let's see, do I have more? I do have more Nurglings, more Marauders of Nurgle, just like a tide of disease and filth walking around. Another stream of corruption. Oh yeah, that was very nice. That was pretty strong. Also poisoning the enemy that we jump on. So we're just fighting in here in this disgusting blob. Croak would definitely, if Croak was alive, this would be a disgusting bomb to drop on top of my units. My chariots are still running around, slashing through these Skinks. It's a complete mess in these woods. Quite difficult to really understand what's even happening, but trying to push his units off the point. That is my goal, and we are very slowly but surely grinding this objective back into the hands of Nurgle, but my opponent is just about to take the lead in terms of value, and those Nurglings were killed to a Nurgling. Killed to a demon, I guess? Killed to a daemon? Whatever. More Cold One Riders running around. I had some Fury units hanging out over here for the longest time. I'm just finally starting to use them. And I'm pulling more troops because I'm really kind of overcommitting here to defend the middle, which we do recapture. So, again, we're slowly trying to get that point lead back, getting 1 point over my opponent at a time. But there are so many Skinks in these woods, and my Marauders are doing their best to chop and slash, but the Skinks do not give up, and my opponent has way more ranged firepower than I have. I have no range whatsoever. I'm basically just chopping and slashing them to death. Are these Chosen still alive? They are. You can see the Chosen have taken almost no damage. Almost no damage. And granted, they haven't accrued a huge amount of value, but they're still alive. And yeah, some Furies flying very high over, just continuously trying to get rear charges or jump on his skirmisher units like these Chameleon Skinks. But my opponent very intelligently recognizes that the middle's lost, and so he moves over to Objective 1, where I have pulled off most of my assets, and he's now on here with Chameleon Skinks, who are gonna ruin the remainder of these Exalted Plague Bearers. My Marauders of Nurgle get hit by these Cold One Riders, strong shock cavalry, just jumping in and smashing these guys who are running way faster than 30 speed. There was no way in hell that was 30 speed. That guy was going like 50 speed. But yeah, all my infantry get killed, and suddenly I am now losing objective 1. Now over here, I did run over with some Marauder horsemen, new guys that I resummoned, and smashed into these chameleons and started to take the point away from him, and just generally trying to be annoying, so my opponent commits a bunch of infantry over here, which is great. I'm trying to just hold the objectives I need to hold to win the game, but he's once again captured objective 1 and 3, so once more the balance is slowly shifting in his favor, and my chariots over here get destroyed. Unfortunately, they did a pretty good job. But now we have to slowly come out of the woods with the Chosen of Nurgle, who, again, they don't run, they only walk, they take their time when they're moving, and these Nurglings slowly swarming over to objective 1 to try to defeat this massive lizards. It really felt like the lizard horde just never ended. We do push off these Cold One riders, though, with Furies, which is a pretty amazing value trade for me. And with these 2 horsemen, I thought this was great. Like, we're distracting so many lizard units over here that could be on the middle objective, or that could be over here at objective 1. The only thing over here is the Ancient Salamander, who's being, I mean, he's basically just having fun. He's just killing units. I don't think he's, like, seriously in danger, but actually I say that. He's definitely getting chipped to pieces and will probably die. But over here, the Chosen have finally engaged in melee with the Cold One riders, and I mean, I guess they're winning. Yeah, it doesn't really feel like Nurgle wins battles. They just sort of deplete their opponent's vigor until they pass out, and all of these units are really tired. I imagine my units are very tired too. Yeah, quite exhausted after that light jog between the tree line to objective 1. But we've got a lot more troops, and again, we're trying to regain the capture weight. My opponent has a point lead on me, but I've got some fast movers. Died very early in the game, but I managed to resummon the horsemen, and they are back, and with their presence, we are once again slowly ticking away objective 1. And these horsemen over here are just kind of being annoying. We're actually killing some skinks by, like, abusing the tree line for cover, although it's, yeah, that was a pretty bad volley of javelins. But I'm even actually taking some Chaos Warriors and moving them over here to Objective 1. Probably didn't need to do that. Probably could have kept them on Objective 2. But we finally reclaim Objective 1, yeah, after like 2 or 3 minutes. And once again, swinging, just trying to pull that rope back to slowly grind. It's going to be pretty close no matter what. And it's not even a surefire thing that I'm actually going to be able to hold this objective. A lot of my units are very weak. These Chaos Furies being killed. Trying to just push off his routing units as best I can. Spamming in Nurglings. The Chosen are still here. They're still alive. And they're very fat, as Nurglings are. But my opponent has some very powerful infantry of his own. The Saurus Warriors with shields. Just going to be a very slow, grindy chop fest where neither side really hurts the other. But my opponent has got more. He's got Cold One Riders. He's summoning in more Feral Cold Ones. Red-Crested Skinks over here. He's got his Ancient Salamander over here. He's trying to hold Objective 3. I don't feel like I can seriously contest that with these units. But, you know, we're there. We're just about to get a victory point lead. And there's so many lizards just flying through this tree line. Pretty great for me, honestly. I don't have really any big units. I have these horsemen, which are large entities, but fighting in tree line is it's a bad time for any large entities like these Feral Cold Ones or his Cold One Riders. So I was pretty happy about him doing those. And we're still holding Objective 1. We do have a point lead at this interval. And yeah, my opponent's still over there just holding. I'm trying to reinforce the middle objective. But I think my opponent's army is actually a little bit stronger than mine. I only have like 2 Nurglings and a Chaos Warrior here. I've got like, yeah, Marauders, Chaos Warriors. My Lord is still alive. He's basically been completely untouched this game. He's just sort of like rode around, acted like he did anything in this battle, but mostly just sort of chuckled to himself and had fun on his horse. but my opponent sneaks around the side and gets a nice rear charge on my Marauders, my Nurglings, my Chosen. We are completely surrounded by lizards. This is basically the worst case scenario for my units. They are not having fun. Their leadership is, yeah, you can see a lot of problems there, also under missile fire, and starting to bleed out my Nurglings, but we are extremely close to winning. All I have to do is basically hold this objective and not lose this point, and we should be good. Yeah, all I need is another like 7 points and I'll win. So a nice croak bomb here, a good maneuver by my opponent, but ultimately I'm just able to squeak a victory. And I think if he did that flank maneuver maybe like 45 seconds earlier, could have lost the game. Because, yeah, these infantry, they were done. They were not going to be able to hold the point, especially not with this mass coming in. Pretty amazing game, though. I was honestly quite surprised that I managed to pull it out against such a chameleon skink heavy army, or at least it felt like he had a lot of skirmishers. I guess he had a lot of the javelins. His chameleon skinks didn't actually do that great. I imagine because the first units that he really came into contact with were all shielded. My lord didn't do that much. You know, he got some streams of corruption off, which were cool. He casted Fleshy Abundance to keep the Chosen alive. He did his job. He's kind of a cheap lord, to be honest. He's no Exalted Plague Bearer or something. Speaking of, these guys were terrible, but that's fine. You know, they were just a sort of fun choice. These guys, holy shit. I don't think I've ever seen a Nurgle unit do so much damage. Yeah, this is more like what I expect. Barely dealing any damage, but these great weapons are pretty good. The Marauder Horsemen were definitely the MVPs of the army. Like this one unit, 1,500 value on this one guy. Super amazing, and also gave me a lot of agency on the battlefield. The Ancient Salamander just got owned. Croak was a terror in the night. Saurus did okay. Holy shit, never mind, did incredibly. Saurus is very scary. The Chosen were MVPs for sure. I think they paid for themselves, so they were actually an incredible value choice, and they still had so much HP to chop through. Incredible infantry at holding points. I think in land battles, they kind of suck because you don't really need to worry about them. Like, you can just focus on other targets, but in a domination game mode where you have to sit on a point, you have to break it off from your opponent, they can do a lot more for you. Yep, and all these units did pretty good. Chariots were good, the dogs, the Furies, amazing. Chasing off so much Nurglings are always wonderful. Yeah, those riders were good. Yeah, all his cavalry were pretty incredible. Those chameleon skinks were nice. Yeah. Oh, and those javelins also did great. Lots of killing for both sides. It was a close game. I think I maybe barely eked out a value lead. I was definitely leading in value pretty heavily early game, but he really came back when he did that objective 1 push at the end. Thanks for watching.